Hi, welcome to Prime Recap. A colossal crocodile devours $1 million fortune. Now a little boy and his friend will go on a journey in search of this monstrous creature. Today we will recap the movie, $1 Million Crocodile, from 2012. At an underground wildlife market in Guangdong, poachers are with a freshly caught Thai crocodile, trying to sell its meat at all costs. But the big problem is that when they decide to untie him, the creature jumps out of the truck and tries to attack the group of criminals. It is then that an old peasant immobilizes the beast and says that the crocodile belongs to him. The next day, Xing walks home after school and as usual decides to enter the crocodile park without permission. He reaches the guardrail and tries to scream offering food to get the beast out of its den, but nothing happens. So the boy decides to rest and puts his report card over his face because of the sun, and the wind blows the paper into the cage. In a complete insane decision, Xing decides to pass through the bars and goes to the den of the gigantic crocodile Amao, offering his candy wrapped in the report card with the bad grades. The colossal beast then chomps down on the snack and the little boy would be the next snack if not for Mr. Liu save him and get him out of there. Soon after, a group of hunters arrives at the park, and with the permission of Mr. Liu enter the cage taking out each of the small crocodiles. Xing despairs when he realizes that his beloved Amao will be the next to be taken. The hunters prepare the tranquilizers and approach the den, but the fear is so great that one of them slips into the lake. The task will be difficult, so they call Mr. Liu to help with the capture, as he is the expert on these creatures. He starts beating the bamboo near the hole's opening, calling for Amao. The creature wakes up to the vibrations and decides to come out of hiding. Xing continues yelling at Amao not to fall into the trap. But it was too late. Several darts were fired by the hunters and the giant beast went out completely. In the transport truck, Xing is disappointed to see his friend being taken away to a sad end. The man feels the weight of guilt in selling all the crocodiles to the black market traders. The little boy asks him if Amao's meat will be cruelly sold in the market and Mr. Liu remains quiet. After a few hours of delay, the crocodile shipment reached the black market. The biggest 2-ton crocodile is unloaded with the help of a crane. The merchant orders him to cook as much of the animal as possible, as a group of 300 tourists will feed on him the next day. One of the guys begins to eliminate the smaller crocodiles on the bench with extreme brutality, and finally it's Amao's turn, who was right there waiting. The market clerk prepares to deliver the fatal blow with a machete to the crocodile's head. But the creature wakes up and makes a violent lunge throwing the bald man away. The animal takes off at a run, destroying the containment fences. The bald man, on the other hand, ended up in the tank full of crocodiles and ended up being eaten alive. Meanwhile, Joe and his girlfriend are traveling on the highway. The girl brags about the millions of dollars she carries in her purse, due to many years working making shoes. She refuses to leave that money in the bank, prefers to have it in her possession at all times. While they were talking, Ling finds another girl's underwear in the glove compartment of Joe's car and goes into total rage, ordering him to stop the car immediately so she can get out. The problem is that the guy got angry and left the girl behind in the middle of the road. She tries to call someone for help, but to no avail. She then decides to leave the lane and head through the tea plantation. However, she has a completely unpleasant encounter. Amao, who had just run away, appeared in front of her. She leaves screaming in despair with the huge crocodile chasing her. The woman decides to climb a pole and is shaking her bag to ward off the creature. But the only thing she manages is for the beast to snatch and swallow the bag full of her dollars, and then disappear into the middle of the field. The woman who was already desperate becomes even more collapsed. Meanwhile, an annoying insurance salesman is trying to convince a peasant lady to hire his products, when Ling appears screaming for a crocodile. She wants help finding the creature that devoured all her money. But the peasant woman tells her to go to the police station ahead. Xing is at home, and his father asks where the report card is, wondering how many subjects the boy had failed. Xing says it was eaten by Amao. But it's obvious the man doesn't believe that absurd story. And for that, he grounded the boy without any fun, and he still had to count the amount of corn in a giant pot as punishment for his lies and poor school performance. His father left for work, and while he was counting the endless amount of corn, the children called him to play. And even grounded, he decides to escape through the window and join the gang. Ling arrived at the nearest police station, once again yelling for the crocodile. And the policeman is none other than Wang, the little boy's father. The woman is euphoric, screaming in the boy's head about her fortune that is now inside the monstrous crocodile. She refuses to answer any of Wang's questions, she just wants to go after the giant crocodile at all costs. Wang takes the girl on his scooter to the tea fields. And there they find the insurance salesman and the peasant woman, but the two say they haven't seen any crocodiles there. The woman runs to the middle of the tea field totally aimlessly and ends up finding a lost bill of her fortune. She tries to prove that she is telling the truth with that bill, but the salesman says that it is a Chinese incense paper, not a real money bill. And that's why Wang decides to leave and not waste time with that madness. But Ling asks the police officer to trust her. After all, there was a crocodile farm close by. The policeman then decides to take the girl to the entrance of the park, but they find the place completely closed off by chains. It is then that Wang notices Mr. Liu on the input board. The crocodile keeper has just returned home after selling all his animals. And despite the daughter's enthusiasm, his wife is not happy with the return. After all, he spent a long time away from home because of his creations. Wang calls Mr. Liu to say that the gigantic crocodile is on the loose. But the old man says it's not possible. He personally saw Amao being sedated and loaded onto the truck by the buyers. So the police officer calls the black market buyers, and being threatened by the boss, the employee says that all the crocodiles are still with them. So, Wang is convinced that Ling is crazy and decides to leave. Xing and his friends are swimming in the lake, when a drunk sitting by the water spots the crocodile coming out of the bush and shouts that there was a dinosaur. But the children take it as a joke and start throwing pebbles at the man, while the beast is already in the water between them. Nearby, Wang decided to go back to Ling to ask for her phone number. And the girl remembered that the device was eaten along with the bag by the crocodile and has the idea of calling him and following the sound of the call. But nothing done, it was not possible to hear anything. Tired of that antics, the policeman calls a bus to the place and orders the girl to leave that city immediately. Ling remains stubborn and tries to steal the officer's scooter, but he puts it on his shoulder, and despite taking a brutal bite from the hysterical woman, he forcefully puts her on the bus and says that if she doesn't abandon this crocodile madness, he will arrest her for assaulting in authority. But as soon as the bus leaves, the girl jumps out the window and runs back screaming once more for the crocodile. So along with the police officer, they go to the bank of the nearby creek, where a local man says that someone stole his sheep that was attached to a rope. Only when analyzing the cut in this rope, Wang realizes that it is torn apart. It had been 3 years since anyone had reported a theft in that city. There was something very strange going on. Ling insists that the sheep was devoured by the monstrous crocodile. That's when the old man, owner of the sheep, says he saw Wang's son playing in the creek with other children just now. The problem is that there wasn't a living soul in the water, only the clothes were left behind. Ling spots a bloodstain in the middle of the lake and suddenly a victim's body emerges, totally destroyed. Wang desperately dives into the lake and disappears for a moment. Upon returning to the surface, only carrying the head of the sheep, the poor thing was completely destroyed. Fearing for his son's life, he sets off at full speed in search of Xing and ends up finding him at home. The boy says that his friends hid his clothes and that's why he was in that situation. Wang is relieved to see his son is safe. He asks Ling and his son to stay home while he goes to the police station to report that there is a monster on the loose to his superior. The man arrives at full speed at the station and asks a police officer to give him a gun immediately. But he only receives an answer that he could only get a weapon with the captain's authorization. So he decides to take the bike key and head towards the smuggler's market. As Xing goes out into the garden to get some herbs for dinner, Ling tries to call her cell phone one more time, and bizarrely, her ringtone begins to echo through the darkness around the house. The crocodile is very close to the boy, but the boy doesn't even notices. He enters back into the house, and avoids taking a not-so-friendly surprise attack. Wang arrives at the crocodile market and starts investigating the place. The crook boss says he didn't buy any animals from Mr. Liu. But the policeman spots the huge hole in the fence, and when he removes the canvas from the truck, there is a gigantic transport box there. With no patience for the smuggler's blatant lies, the policeman holds him against the fence and makes him speak the truth, confirming that, in fact, Amao was on the loose. When calling Mr. Liu, Wang discovers that there is one more serious problem going on. The animal is in the breeding season and is apparently trying to return to the park, as it needs to lay its eggs. Problem is, Wang's house is right on the way to the park. Therefore, he desperately needs to leave with his motorcycle to save his son. However, the policeman is so nervous that he loses his balance and ends up crashing along the way. Still in the house, the girl received a call from her mother. And while on the phone, the crocodile slowly entered the room through the back door. The creature heads towards the stairs to go up to the second floor. When she hangs up the phone, Ling gets another call. This time it was Wang saying that they need to get out of there immediately, as the crocodile will pass through there before reaching the park. But it was too late. Xing came face to face with the beast walking up the stairs. Ling pulls the boy in an attempt to save him and hurls a machete at the creature. But the monster deflects the blade with one swift movement. They have to flee inside a room, while the crocodile struggles not to fall from the second floor after destroying part of the wall. Ling and the boy block the door with a wardrobe. They just didn't expect Amao to brute force himself through the wall. The monster is determined to devour them. Then the two run to the window. Xing goes first and climbs onto the roof, but the girl ends up hanging over the edge and her legs are inches from the crocodile's mouth. Wang arrives just in time to see the whole scene. He accelerates his scooter to full speed and jumps through a bamboo ramp, throwing the bike onto the crocodile, which causes the beast to fall from the second floor. But Amao still makes her last lunge and almost snaps the policeman brutally. The crocodile runs into the bush and disappears into the darkness. Now the warning signal has been triggered. The army arrived in the city warning everyone about the dangerous crocodile on the loose. At the police station, Wang left the chief smuggler alone for a short time, and then, the man overheard Xing saying that the animal had swallowed $1 million fortune from Ling. And so, the man runs off to tell his cronies about the money in the creature's stomach. The gang decides that they must arm themselves to capture the beast and steal all that money. They leave in the middle of the night using a canoe. When they arrive at the search location, they see two bright spots in the distance and thinking they are the crocodile's eyes, they shoot with the sniper rifle. But when they approached, it was just a couple making out in a car. At dawn, Mr. Liu arrived at the police station to provide support to Officer Wang, and together, they set off with some soldiers in search of the crocodile. The group of criminals continues advancing into the woods. The problem is that one of the members is injured and ends up being left behind. Totally stunned, he crashes into the tree trunk and passes out. Ling, who stayed behind at Wang's request, wakes the boy up and convinces him to follow the police to save Amao. And even though her intention is only to rescue her money, the little boy agrees with the mission. The two run through the streets at full speed and also enter the woods. As she advances a few meters, Ling simply stops and starts screaming, thinking she is stepping right on top of the crocodile. But in reality, the boy shows that it was just the machete. With all the screaming, the gang comes running to see what was happening, and in desperation the two decide to follow them too. Upon reaching the shores of a large lake, they find an immense footprint of the monster, which indicated that the crocodile was there. The gang boss has a completely psychopathic idea. He asks them to arrange ropes, as they will tie live bait hanging to attract the animal. Worst of all, the baits would be Ling and the boy. The duo even tries to escape, but they are easily captured. They are tied upside down and raised a few inches off the ground. With Xing's cries of despair, his father can hear him from afar and realizes that his son is in danger. Meanwhile, the chief orders one of the henchmen to go to the edge of the river to attract the beast. The man starts hitting the bamboo in the water several times. And just like that, Amao actually appeared on the surface and started walking out of the lake, heading towards the hanging youths. Slowly, she comes closer to her prey. However, upon smelling the boy, she doesn't have any aggressive reaction and lies down quietly. But one of the henchmen shoots a dart from afar and activates Amao's fury again. When they try to throw the containment net, they end up leaving the boss trapped in it and the creature drags him into the lake. When everything seemed to have calmed down, the crocodile jumps out of the water and devours the boss in just a single bite. Wang and Mr. Liu also arrived at the scene. But nothing could be done. Again Amao escaped. After removing their son and Ling from the trap and verifying that everything was fine, they enter into the vehicle and head into the river, chasing the crocodile at full speed closely. Ling tries to make a few shots, but to no avail. On the contrary, this provokes even more Amao, who attacks the car, forcing Wang to swerve. The chase now continues out of the lake. The crocodile knocks over a pole on the way, but it wasn't enough to stop the group. However, Amao entered the tea plantations, forcing them to stop the car. The new danger now is that the animal is heading for West Lake, the main lake in the region, which is currently completely full of boats. Authorities are notified and begin evacuating the entire area. Wang goes with Ling to the chief operating officer and says he has a plan. Using the GPS of the girl's cell phone that is in the animal's stomach, they can easily track it. The cops at the headquarters log into the system, but Amao's position is fluctuating too much on the map, and the plan doesn't work either. Mr. Liu went with Wang to the middle of the lake and left a chicken trapped on top of bamboos while he beat his stick on the bottom of the canoe and none of the crocodile appeared. The couple who were still in the water in a canoe were violently knocked down by Amao's attack. Mr. Liu and Wang get on the police speedboat and quickly head towards the couple. They approach and start pulling them into the boat, and Liu has to push his stick against the animal's jaw so it doesn't rip the couple's legs off. Back on solid ground, they need to think of new strategies. Liu says that Amao recognizes him, and will not try to kill him. This will be his opportunity. If the attempt to immobilize her doesn't work, Wang will have to solve it with his weapon and his very dubious aim. The two are again in the canoe in the middle of the lake. Liu starts hitting the bat. In a few seconds, they hear a noise. It was the colossal beast. Liu asks his partner to put the gun down and starts calling the crocodile by name, trying to communicate. Amao comes closer and starts following them, but something strange happens. She decides to dive again and disappears. The old man then realizes that he needs to get out of the boat alone and jump into the water, only then would Amao trust him. The man warns Wang that if something goes wrong, he should shoot the animal in the upper jaw, which is the crocodile's weakest point. Liu enters the lake and Amao approaches, coming face to face with him. Wang is already ready with his pistol in the distance. And once again, the crocodile dives into the lake. They needed to get her out of the water at any cost. Liu quickly gets out of there, and again uses the stick strikes. A few seconds pass, and the crocodile leaps like a meteor out of the water, smashing the entire concrete structure. The pair continue luring the beast out into the open, and Liu finally manages to calm it down using the bamboo and their coordinated movements. However, the henchman who had fainted in the middle of the forest suddenly appeared screaming and carrying his machete, as he wants to avenge his brother's death in the alligator tank. He rushes at Amao to land a fatal blow, but ends up getting headbutted and flying away. The crocodile is out of control again. Liu receives a brutal blow from the animal and also flies away and crashes violently. Wang had no choice left. He fires a single bullet, hitting the upper jaw, right into Amao's brain. It was the end of the colossal crocodile, as well as its creator. Sometime later, Ling appears living together with Wang and Xing. She got her money back in pieces, but has been working to piece them together like a jigsaw puzzle. But we can still note something here. Amao managed to lay her eggs, meaning her lineage will still continue. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.